Hi, I'm Susie, and I design and press cookie press discs. We have more than 250 shapes and over 30 themes, designed and manufactured right here in the United States by our small family-owned company. Now you might be thinking that a cookie press is just for Christmas and Christmas trees, but I want you to think again, because I'm going to show you how to get creative with your cookie press all year long. Hi again from sunny Colorado. I hope you're all off to a wonderful 2018. This is my first video of the year, and it's for Valentine's Day. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make raspberry Valentine's thumbprint cookies. And instead of just using our thumbs to make little wells to put some jelly or jam in, we're going to be using the three-dimensional wells that are created in the Spritz cookie shapes themselves to pipe in some raspberry cake and pastry filling. We're also going to be putting the filling into our dough itself to give it a real raspberry kick, plus some raspberry extract, so it's really going to have some raspberry cake. I'm just going to be using three shapes today. Two from the Valentine's set, the outline heart and double heart one, and one from the wedding set, which is the flower bouquet. Let's go ahead and get started. I always say it because it's completely true. I'm a broken record when it comes to Spritz cookies. The first step to making great Spritz recipes that will both press easily and make a nice, light, airy cookie that just melts in your mouth is to cream your butter really, really well. So that's the first step that I'm going to do, is to just take my mixer, set it on its highest setting, and cream the heck out of this butter. Then I'm going to add the sugar, and I'm going to re-cream it again, because that's the beginning of creamed cookies, is to cream the butter and sugar together. That's the beginning. After that, I'll add the wet ingredients, the extracts and the egg, and after that, we'll add the flour mixture with the baking soda and the salt in it. You always want to kind of cream it and beat it after wet ingredients, but once we get around to the flour, I'm just going to incorporate it gently until it's all folded in and all nice and evenly moist. You'll know your butter's creamed really well when it starts to get to the point where it turns a little bit lighter color and it forms these neat stiff peaks, kind of like if you're doing egg whites or something else that you're whipping. So when you get that nice change of color and the change in the look of it, you'll know you're off to a good start. Now I'm going to get the sugar incorporated. In mentioning the wet ingredients, I totally forgot to mention the raspberry filling, and that's what goes in after the sugar. As you can see, the raspberry filling already gave this kind of a hint of a pink color. Kind of show you in the close-up camera. I don't know how it'll come out in the light. But it has a really slightly pink color, but we want to make these a really beautiful deep raspberry to really enhance the flavor. They say that the color of foods actually changes the way your perception of taste is. So let's make these, really be perceived visually the way they will be with their flavor. So all I'm going to do is add a little bit of gel food coloring to these. And I've got 4 different knives here because I found that the exact right amount happened to be just taking, these are Wilton colors, gel colors, and you always want to use a gel because the liquid's going to change the consistency of your dough. And all I did was I tested these the other day. I just dipped my knife in once into here, just part way in, and kind of smeared it into my dough. And then I don't want to redunk it in here because I don't want to mess up my dough, so I'm going to set this aside. Going to grab another knife, and I'm going to do a second little, and that one I think I did a little too much. Just kind of get it wet on both sides. And I'm going to drag that through the dough, maybe wipe it off on the beaters. Set that aside. And I'm going to do the same thing with, this is violet, so it's a purple, so that we're creating kind of a purplish pink here. Whoop. Okay, there's our purple. I'll throw that in there too. Set the knife aside. And because this is only one color, I'm not doing multicolored cookies today, I can just get it in with the mixer instead of doing it by hand, if you've ever seen me do that. And I like adding it at this stage because it just makes it, I don't know, it's somehow just easier, it's easier to get it in this way. I'm going to tip this up into the close-up camera so you can see I've got this really gorgeous pinky, purpley, the only color you'd call this if you saw it on a crayon is raspberry. So just keep adding it if you need to add a little more. Always start slow with adding color because you can always add more but you can't take it out. So I'm very happy with this. And remember, it'll get a little bit lighter when you add the flour, but it'll be fairly close. So just go with something that looks fantastic. Alright, time to get the rest of our wet ingredients in, and then like I said, I'll just slowly fold in the dry. With the flour incorporated, I'm going to reach on in here and take a look at my dough. Because I always want to say in every video that you can always troubleshoot a Spritz dough. A Spritz dough has a certain consistency. I'm going to show you in the camera here. We'll take a look at this dough together. And Spritz dough should be very soft, kind of like a really soft Play-Doh, and it should break apart in your hands. This is a little bit soft, so we'll try pressing it and see how it goes. And if it's a little bit too soft, all we're going to do is add just a tablespoon of flour at a time until it's the right consistency. Because you don't want your Spritz dough to be so soft that your shapes won't hold their shape when they're baking, or so sticky that they just kind of don't make nice clean shapes when you press them. If your dough is too stiff and you're finding that it's just hard to work with, go ahead and add just a tablespoon of water. You can always add a little more vanilla, because who doesn't like more vanilla? You could add milk, but that has protein in it, so that kind of changes things a little more. But just feel free. A little bit of flour or a little bit of water, and you can tweak your dough enough to get it to where it should be. This looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and try and press this. Alright, on to pressing. I'm going to start with our most popular Valentine's disc, and that is the outline heart, and it is really cute. And the best thing about it for this recipe is that it has a nice wide center that we're going to be able to fill with that pastry filling. So I'm just going to plop my outline heart disc into the bottom here, and I'm going to fill up my barrel with dough. My favorite way to do that is to use little blobs at a time and just pack them in with the back of a spoon, because you want to eliminate any air bubbles as you go. You can also roll it into a log and slide it in, but sometimes that can get cumbersome, so I find that this technique works just as well. And I have a little more control over getting those air bubbles out, because air bubbles are what will make your cookies come out a little misshapen sometimes. If you have a big pocket on one side of air and some really compressed dough on the other side, you're going to have a cookie that comes out bigger on one side than the other, or missing little pieces. And you know, the great thing about Spritz cookies is these awesome shapes, so you don't want to be missing anything or having them come out funky looking. They're supposed to look awesome. So, alright, with my barrel loaded up here, set the dough aside and just plop the ring on. I always set the pressure in the barrel because, like I said, this is packed in somewhat loosely, and you want to start setting it evenly by just clicking a few clicks into the air. It's going to get your dough started coming out. There, I've got quite a bit coming out, so this one might come out mushy. Let's see how this dough goes. First one looks just fine, a little rough around the edges. There you go. And once you have a nice cookie come out, you just want to stay in a nice consistent rhythm. And these are going really well with one click. Always think of a cookie press as a dough pump, whether it's electric or manual or a twist pump or a squeeze trigger. Just think of it as a way to get dough out through this shape. It doesn't have to be one click or, you know, whatever. It can be less than a click. It can be more than a click. You just want to get a handle on feeling dough sticking to the pan. And once you get really good at this, you'll feel it really easily because the cookies kind of push back when they're sticking well, and if they're not sticking at all, you'll be like, wait, there's nothing happening here. So it really takes a little finesse, but once you get it, it's really simple and a fast way to make shaped cookies. So these guys look terrific. You'll see the little spaces here. I'll hold this up for you. The little spaces in the center of the outline heart, that's where we're going to be putting the pastry filling. Now I'm going to switch out my discs. Give this one, as I always do, to Mr. Bear, my helper, and we'll go for Double Heart 2, which is our second most popular one. That worked out well, huh? Okay, I've got a little around the edge here that just got smeared, so I'm going to take that away. I'm going to reset my pressure again. Ooh, that's not even going to take a full click. And let's see how these come out. They look just fine. I thought this dough was a little soft at first, but sometimes a dough, hey, the oven's ready. A dough will really start to congeal and come together once it's sat for a little bit. It allows the flour to absorb some of those moisture ingredients. I'm just going to finish out the barrel since these are coming out nicely. I am all out. And they actually all look pretty good. I've got a couple here. Let's see. This pressed a little bit big. Let me show you this up close. Most of these look pretty terrific. These little ones, where am I trying to go? Over here. These guys, the little double hearts. You want to make sure that there's a space in that well enough to put your jam in. So I'm going to take out any of the ones that look big like this one. All the rest of them look just fine, so I'll leave those. So I'm going to switch out my disc one more time, and I'll just fill up these spaces with the flowers, which we're actually going to use the pastry filling to make little dots on the flowers. you don't need to see me do all of these. I'm gonna refill my barrel, get the rest of these pressed out, and get them into the oven, and then I'll show you how we do the decorating. I went ahead and reloaded the barrel. Now I'm gonna put in the flower bouquet disc, and we'll fill up the rest of these little spaces that we've got on the pan. And then I'll show you how we're gonna decorate them before they even go in the oven. Reset the pressure again. 1 didn't do it, 2 didn't do it. Let's see if 3 will. This is a tighter design, so it's gonna take a little more pressure to get the flowers to come out. Remember that first cookie can always come out a little junky looking and very often ends up back in the bowl because you're still setting pressure. That one looks just fine. Okay, that one does too. Let's see. I try to be a little bit more careful with these because they're a little bit delicate, and you want to make sure that you're getting all of the petals on all the flowers. This one's a little bit fat, so we're going to toss him aside. Maybe it's a her, I don't know. Why am I having a problem? Okay, let's see. There we go. If you have one that comes out just all wonky like that, do what I did and just toss it right back in the bowl. It's not a big deal. Let's see how these look. I can probably squeeze one more in. Oh, I know what I did. See, this is such a tight design. I'm going to show you what's happening here. Because I want to teach well in these videos about Spritz cookies because they are kind of weird and people sometimes get frustrated. See how, because this is a tight design, the dough is just continuing to extrude even though I'm not touching it. I'm not putting any pressure on the barrel at all. So that's what was happening with the one I tossed back in the bowl that was here, is that it kept extruding, and when I slid the press down and slid it back onto the pan, it smeared the cookie. So you want to make sure, especially on a design that's tight like this, that you keep in a nice consistent rhythm and don't let it just keep oozing out and oozing out, or you're going to end up with a blob like I wound up with, and nobody wants that. We don't want blobs. So now I'm going to pause here at my own giggling and check out what I've got and see if these flowers look good. And the stem on this one is a little bit wonky, so I'm going to repress it. And if you have a problem like that where you just got dough extruding everywhere, just wipe it away and start again. Oh, I didn't start the pressure. Ready? Let's reset it, wipe it away. That's always a good trick. If you're coming out all goofy and not having a good rhythm and they're not coming out right, reset your pressure. Now I'm going to try and set straight down so I don't smear this one. There we go. There's a little excess along the edge. I'll just pull it away, and now I've got a good flower bouquet. Let me stop, release my pressure, and I'll show this to you. There's a little bit excess over here too. Sometimes you get these little blobs that just sort of fall on here. I'm not very talented at this today. Okay, but we do have flower bouquets. Let's see if I can get you a good view on those. There you go. Some bigger ones, some littler ones, but they all look pretty good. Our last step before baking is to do some decorating. Today I'm going to show you a different technique than I did in, say, the Christmas trees, where I was using icing to hold decorations onto the trees. Today I'm going to show you how to set nonpareils and decorations into the dough itself. And that can be really helpful if you don't want them to have as much trouble falling off. Depending on your icing, sometimes they can get knocked off a little more easily. So this is just one other technique that you can use. So I'm going to take some of these pearls that I have. These are just little nonpareils. They're pink and gold and kind of a purpley color. And I'm going to, on the flowers, there's two kinds of flowers. There's like a big daisy and a little star. And I'm just going to add these little nonpareils, little pink ones, to the smaller, oops, I'm dropping it. I'm using tweezers because it's so much easier to pick everything up. And I'm just going to add them onto these little guys here. And then after baking, hopefully you can see this in the close-up camera, after baking on the big flowers, I'm going to be piping on little dots of the raspberry filling. So for the flowers, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to add different colors. This one I'm going to make gold. Plop that on there. And you just want to set them ever so gently into the dough. You don't want to smash them in there, but you don't want them to roll off either. And the other thing I'm going to do is go onto the hearts, and I'm just going to set little rows of these in and kind of outline them. Like the name of the outline heart. We're going to outline the outline heart. Let's pick a good one here. I'll just go with something nice and close to my hands. And I'm just going to start along the ridge. There's a nice high ridge on this cookie shape. And we're just going to kind of accent and offset it with these pearls. There we go. Now I've got this outline heart outlined in pink pearls. The other thing I've got here is a plate full of little sprinkles, which I just spilled everywhere. I've got red and white and pink sprinkles, and the dough is already pink, so I'm going to stick with the red and white ones. And I'm just going to kind of, I might even use my fingers for these guys. Let's see. This might work. And I'm going to place them around the outside of the outline heart, on that flat area. Maybe I'll do kind of a mix of red and white. So here, I'm just going to get it started, and that'll give you an idea. Let me come over to the close-up camera, and you should be able to see that this flower has little gold nonpareils in it. This one has pink, and this heart, where are we on the camera? Sorry guys. This one's outlined in pink, and I've started placing these around the edges. And you can see from the pictures that you've already seen how these are going to turn out. So I'm going to finish these up and get them into the oven, and then when they come out, we'll be able to pipe in our filling. I had to take a little pause here and kind of start over. If you've noticed I'm a little discombobulated today, it's because my little tiny 15-year-old Maltese is having some problems with his back. He always has, but today as I got started with the filming, he started to cry. So I've been kind of having my attention divided between getting my cookies pressed and decorated for you guys and handling my little pupper over there. So I'm a little flaky today. So what I did was, when I put the decorations on the first batch of cookies that you saw me press, I did put them in the oven, and they're out and done and they smell great. But I forgot that before they go in the oven, you got to add the filling because it has to cook while it's in there. So I am, without further ado, going to get on with showing you how to do that. We're going to switch to the close-up camera, and I'm going to start with the outline heart here, and hopefully I won't have any problems. What you want to do is just get it started here, and it's kind of like piping icing. You just want to start with kind of a blob in the one corner and then swoop down towards the middle, and then start with a blob in the other little corner here and just meet down towards the middle, and that'll spread out nicely in baking and make a nice shape. Now the little hearts, the double hearts, are a little trickier. You want to get your nozzle, I'm using a number 2 tip here, and you just want to come in between and sort of fill in this design. Just trace the shape through and fill it on in. So I'm going to show you one other one. Just fill in that little crack there, follow the outline, fill in the open spaces. So like I said, instead of just a little thumbprint hole, now you're going to have little heart-shaped wells where this goes. See? They're all filled up, and I'll hold them up for you to see. And for the flowers, all you want to do is just fill up the centers of the bigger flowers. These are kind of like daisies, and we're going to give them neat little centers. And if you find, oops, it came out a little fast there. This can be a little like jelly. It comes out in blobs sometimes. And once in a while, the nozzle will get stuck because you find a raspberry seed. That's always fun. So if that happens, like I think happened just now, yep, I'm a little stuck here, so I'll pause. Let's see if I can get it to go. Nope, there must be a raspberry seed in there. So if that happens, there, I got most of it out. Just pause and unscrew this and get a toothpick in there, get your raspberry seed out, and just start doing it again, and it should work just fine. So now I'm going to get these in the oven, and then you will be able to see how these are really supposed to look. You can see from all the pictures that I've included in this video how these turn out when they're all done. So for now, I'm just going to take my plate of my favorite ones and wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day, and as always, happy baking.